Honestly, I knew he raped me, but I like, how could it happen? And he's so close to us.
Once a child says, I've been abused, we should investigate.
Just force himself in front of many style wrestling and wrestling with me.
Don't allow our children to be abused. Don't let them think that they need to, in order to survive in this world, they have to give away their bodies or sell their bodies for a bus ride or for a meal or for a hamburger, because that's what a lot of them have been forced to do.
And I asked him why, because with my daddy, he said that he is the one who mined me and nobody is going to take my virginity.
It is shocking to me and most disheartening and painstaking to see such children sometimes undergo such treatment.
And we could talk about all the rights of children, the right to education, the right to food, the right for health. Children need love and attention. We got to nurture them. Children are gems, they're jewels. We have to treat them that way.
The UN agency is prime sponsor of this project. CCF's mission statement makes it a clear supporter of this project. CCF creates an environment of hope and respect for needy children of all cultures and beliefs in which they have opportunities to achieve their full potential, and provides practical tools for positive change to children, families, and communities. Caribbean Support Initiative, Bernard Van Leer Foundation, operates as an intermediary resource project which will bring peoples and resources together to enhance parenting capacity and knowledge in the region.
Hey, 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 come children, come children, come children, come children, come. I have a story to tell you.
All children appearing in this documentary are protected. Children from St. Vincent were secured for the Family Services Department and the Christian Children's Fund. The Dominican children were secured for the Welfare Department and the CCF. A wonderful collection of Antiguan teenagers gathered at the Island Inn, having received permission from their parents. They were accompanied by Attorney-at-Law Joanne Messiah. Children have a right to expression.
When a child is speaking, nobody else should speak until they're finished.
My rights are to be clothed and fed and to be taken care of, to be taught how to the right and the wrong of the world.
I think we need to be listened to more.
What are the rights? Where did all this come from? This Convention on the Rights of a Child, it was adopted by countries of the United Nations. A synopsis of those rights of a child is captured for us by UNICEF's Abu Bakr Saibu.
Children are human beings in their own rights. Therefore, they have human rights, even if they're not always in a position to let them know or to defend them. Children's rights are not opposed to parents' rights. On the contrary, they reinforce parents' rights by making families stronger.
Rights to me have always been there for not only children but adults. We think about the whole question of human rights, but we don't marry it with its brother or cousin a lot of times. It's human rights and social justice. What does social justice say? That people should be equitable along every social strata. My human rights says that I have a right to life, an inherent one too. I have a right to an education, I have a right to a family, I have a right to a home, I have a right to lots of things.
In 1990, world leaders at the World Summit for Children set out articles for the protection of the rights of the child. For example, Article 34, the state shall protect children from sexual exploitation and abuse, including prostitution and involvement in pornography. As part of the process of implementation, all countries were to launch a global movement for children and present country reports every 2 years.
The Global Movement for Children is a call to leadership and action on behalf of children everywhere and at every level of society. It is a call to ensure that every child is free to grow to adulthood in health, peace, and dignity.
That global movement is guided by a 10-point imperative. Imperative number 5 is central to this project.
Imperative number 5, stop harming and exploiting children.
The violence and abuse that children suffer must be stopped now. And the sexual and economic exploitation of children must also end.
I'm Steinberg Henry in Kingstown, capital of St. Vincent in the Southern Caribbean. St. Vincent is about 150 square miles with a population of close to 120,000. It is one of 3 countries that we will visit to hear the voices of abused children, the other 2 being Dominica and Antigua. There are many manifestations of abuse, physical violence, abandonment, but Voices of Abused Children will focus on Article 19 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Article 19, the state shall protect the child from all forms of maltreatment by parents or others responsible for the care of the child and establish appropriate social programs for the prevention of abuse and the treatment of victims.
On that particular article, it is reminding us again that this is why our children need to be protected from every member of the society. And not necessarily when a wrong is done that the legal person says this or the social person says this or the doctor says that, but all of us have responsibility to ensure that these wrongs are not committed.
Every time I think about it, I even talk about it, it saddens me and I become very emotional when I have to talk about it because it really is on the increase. We find incest forever being on the increase. And just last week I got an anonymous letter, not last week, Monday actually, I got an anonymous letter reporting that an 11-year-old child was sexually molested by her stepfather and she became pregnant and they had taken her to have an abortion, and the person in the letter was asking me please to go to the home. Now that is difficult for me to do because all this is alleged. I cannot go into a home and say, well, I heard such and such and such, so we have to take that on sort of tenterhooks.
Marian House, a private institution, provides support to government's Family Services Division.
A few years ago, we had a sad case where a child was beaten to death for $100. He had lost $100, so, he was murdered again. To give the parent a joy thing, it came across not only from power, but also a source of ignorance. I didn't know any better. I can't replace my child for $100. So we had, that is just one of those very overt cases. We also have the sexual abuse in all its forms, whether it's rape, whether it's incest, whether it's molestation. You're just funding the child for, again, for your own gratification. That too comes across from a source of power.
Things happen around St. Vincent and the Grenadines that I do not like, and like the killing, sir, the homosexuals, sir, and all them different kind of things, sir. That should not be happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, sir.
Maybe I can start from 89. 89 sexual abuses, we had 35. In 90, we had 21. We had a drop. 91, we had 33. In 92, we had 29. In 93, I don't know what happened, but it went up 70 cases. 94, we were pleased it was decreased. We had 41. In 95, we had an increase again, 60, 96, 55. 97, we went down to 37. And I'm pleased to tell you that in 98, 23, 99, 22, 2020, and 2001, 23. So I feel that we are doing something. Now, those are sexual cases, and I must remind you, those are reported cases because a lot are not reported.
Parent education will continue to be of critical importance in this fast-changing social environment.
We've been running a parenting education program for the last 12 years, where we seek to enhance parenting skills of parents aged 15 to 25, because we seem to have found difficulties occurring most, where parents again are saying that the children are not communicating, they're acting out, they're growing up right under their very noses, and they don't know how to respond to what their reactions are.
It have times where parents would tell their daughters, you have your period, don't play with boys. What can they understand by that? You're supposed to get in details and show them the reason, because telling them playing with boys, they might think, why can't I play with boys? What's going to happen if I play with boys? Because of my period, I cannot play with boys. You should tell them straight, well, you cannot have sex when you start seeing your period, because there's a possibility that you can get pregnant.
When a girl or a boy has many sexual partners and they doesn't stick to one, that's when it is abused.
When a person don't really want to get into it, like they want to get out and they are forced.
Well, it was my aunt's husband. When I was in the living room watching TV, and after he called me and I was like, what? And like, he was like, you have something to tell me? So I was like, well, come and tell me. So he called me, and after when I went, he held me tight and didn't want to let me go. And I was like, let me go. And he was like, no, he wouldn't let me go. What was the stupidest he was saying? And after he pulled me into my aunt's room. He locked the door, and after the room have 2 doors. So he locked the first one, and after he walked the corridor and locked the next door. And after I was like, what are you going to do? And he was like, nothing, just relax. And after he held me tight, squeezed my hand, put my wrist around, and told me to be quiet. And after pushed me on the bed, and he come up because I was screaming and making all some noise, and just took off my clothes and I was scared, terrified, and I was in a lot of pain, and felt bad.
I'll be dumbfounded, I'll be shocked, I'll be amazed, because here this person is doing this to me, to become as if I've already taken the journey to hell and on my way back again and going back again.
This is one of the things that power does when it comes across you in such a very destructive manner, that you feel less than a person. And it's always the case with the victim, male or female, who believes that it must have been something I did wrong, why this was done to me. They didn't look at me as a whole person. I was probably looked upon as a tool to be used in any way somebody please. So how do I step out from this feeling whole, like a normal human being again? I can't hold my head up anymore, because when I pass the street, people will say, wait, that's probably the little girl or the little boy who was in court. That's the girl for sure whom the stepfather or the father molested. And how do I deal with that?
We're small, and it's not ordinary for small people to be doing those kind of things. And if it's not ordinary, if somebody forces you to do it, right, it's even worse.
It's just wrong. Very wrong.
We also have it from the top. We have a lot of sexual molestations from white-collar jobs, bank managers, right across the board. They have the TV, they have the Nintendo, they can go on a holiday every year. They can go, when they pass common entrance, they get a trip to Disney World.